Welcome to Canada's podcast.
Hello, I'm Mario Tonaguzzi, and this is Edmonton's podcast on Canada's Podcast Network. Joining me today is Linda Huang, who is a leading Alberta blogger and social media strategist. Thanks for joining us today, Linda.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let me I'll ask you, first of all, just about being a blogger and how did you get into that?
Yeah, so I've actually had a blog since I was about 10 years old, but it wasn't really called a blog back then. And I wasn't making any money off of it at that time. So I started blogging because I was kind of a nerdy kid. I was on the computer a lot and I really liked writing. So I'd just hop on, write about thoughts, what I'm doing this week, things like that. And then it just kind of stuck with me over the years. And then eventually, I guess, an industry sort of emerged around bloggers and content creators, and I had experience in that, so I was able to kind of really benefit from it as well. But it's been a very long, I think, blogging journey.
So, what do you blog about?
I blog about basically food, things I'm eating, things other people should be eating, and travel. During a pandemic, there hasn't been much of that, but actually, you might be surprised. There's a lot of travel to be done right in your own province. So I've been doing a lot of that as well. So it's mostly food and travel are my topics.
Well, a lot of people kind of wonder about blogging and that. So how does one make money blogging?
Well, these days, a lot of the money that's made blogging is through partnerships with companies. So if you're blogging about hopefully topics that you're interested in and passionate about, then brands and businesses that are also sort of in that niche will want to partner with you to write blog content. And now a lot of it is also social media content about that sort of topic. So you probably have similar audiences with your blog and a business, and then you kind of come together to still write about topics that you're interested in, but at the same time, you're sort of doing it in a way that highlights the business that you're partnering with as well. That's probably the most common way to make money off of a blog today.
Okay, super. Now, I imagine, there are so many quote unquote bloggers out there, right? And so what's the key to being a good blogger? Like, what are some of the factors that kind of separates you, I mean, you in general, apart from anybody else, Tom, Dick, and Harry type thing that says, hey, I want to be a blogger?
Yeah, I mean, I think the misconception is that, certainly anyone can do it, but that it happens easily. So really something that sets apart bloggers or content creators who are doing it for a living and are actually making money off of it is that they are working very hard. It's a lot of work. And you're also investing a lot of your own time and a lot of your own money into it before you see really any type of reward or any type of, let's say, businesses wanting to work with you. So it's a lot more work than people expect. I think what sets people apart, or me in general, is that you have people that are also more ethical and have kind of integrity with what they choose to write about, who they choose to partner with, the messages that they choose to share, versus a whole lot of other people who are willing to kind of shill anything. So you kind of have that difference. And then I would say it's really, I personally believe it comes down to the person. So anyone can really write about or post about food related things. And I don't think that I'm any more, knowledgeable about food than a chef or someone who has studied food. But it's really what businesses want out of me, or what people like when they look at my stuff is my personality. So kind of really defining what your personality is, that is really going to set you apart.
I guess also one of the key things is being genuine and authentic, right? How important is that?
So important. So I think everyone has probably met someone who they thought was going to be different based on their online personality or how they maybe write or post online. And you never want that. So you want to be the same person that you are, and you want to make sure that you're true to your values. So something that is very important to me with my business, where a lot of my income is coming in from partnerships with brands, is that I'll actually regularly decline work, and I'll regularly decline business because I don't think it's a fit. It doesn't suit my values. I actually anticipate there would be pushback from my followers who would maybe challenge, this isn't you, or this isn't who you have portrayed yourself to be. So all of that stuff is super important, is you got to make sure that it's what you're writing and who you're partnering with makes sense for how you have portrayed yourself online.
Yeah. So, and how important is the visual aspect of a blog or a social media post, whether it's a photo or an actual video?
Yeah, so I think what's really interesting is that blogger, content creator people today are actually multiple people. They're photographers, they're art directors, they're videographers. So you have to have all of these pretty creative and technical skills. And it is important to do so. And I think that's just kind of maybe how the industry has evolved, is that people don't really want to look at a blurry photo of something. So that kind of ties into figuring out your personality and your voice as well. Is it's your voice of your images too. It's your voice of those visuals that you're putting out there. It's your style. And you can see in like a quick scroll of someone's Instagram, okay, this is kind of their vibe, or whatever that might be. And it might be a vibe that you like, and it might be a vibe that, you're not vibing with. But people who are doing this for a living or want to do it for a living are very intentional about, this is the type of lighting I like. This is kind of the style of photo I like. And all of those things play into what their audiences sort of think or expect of them.
Okay, I've got to ask you this question. Food. What is it about food that just draws like a vacuum everybody's attention? Even for myself, I go to some place and I have a pasta dish and take a picture and put it up, and everybody's looking at it. What is it about food?
Honestly, it's funny you say that, because when a decade ago when I was doing this, there was a lot of people that would make fun of people who posted photos of their food. And then, a decade later, it's like, well, actually, I have made a business out of posting photos of my food. But I don't know. I think definitely in general, whether it's food or something else on social media, a lot of it has to do with like an aspiration. So I think people... It's content that makes people want to eat that themselves, want to travel there themselves. And that's kind of what pulls them in and gets them excited.
Dragon's Den and Canada's Podcast have partnered to find 3 golden ticket 60-second elevator video pitches. The best 3 elevator pitches will get a golden ticket to audition to the Dragon's Den producers. Get your golden ticket to Dragon's Den today by uploading your 60-second video pitch to our entry page at canadaspodcast.com/Dragon's Den.
Let's talk a little bit about social media. One of the things you do is a social media strategist. Can you talk a little bit about that? Who do you talk to, and who do you work with in that area?
Yeah, so as a social media strategist, I basically have a few different clients where I'm providing them with strategy plans. I'm coming up with social media captions, suggested visuals for them to post on their accounts. And so it's pretty nice. I would say actually when I started my own business, I'm in year 3 now of being my own boss. When I started, I thought it would be 50-50, kind of social media strategy work for clients, and then 50% blogging, content creation. And it's probably actually more 80% is blogging content and 20% is strategy, which is intentional. So again, I think there's a lot of power in getting to a position where you can turn down work or say that's not going to be a fit for me, or maybe in your mind you're like, it seems kind of boring, I don't want to do that. And so I've got some really cool clients from the strategy side that I love. So I work with an organization called World Skills International, and their mission is to basically bolster skilled trades in young people around the world. So it's super cool. They do world competitions, and they have members in countries all over the place. And basically the idea is that we want to educate and train young people to have different hands-on skills that helps economies and helps them with their careers. And then another one that I always do, I take on every year, it just wrapped up, is Silver Skate Festival in Edmonton. They're Edmonton's longest running winter festival. And so that's a very short period of time. I kind of come in right before the festival and then manage all of their social media strategy and content during the festival. So it's either a mix of sort of an ongoing strategy and consulting over the year for a couple of clients, or it's very event based or campaign focused support, which is my preference.
You know what? I want to focus on the word strategy there for a second, because I think that's an important key element of a business or an organization, because a lot of them say, we got to get onto social media. I want to do social media. But it's all haphazard and chaotic, and it's all over the place, and there is no strategy. And so why is that important?
Yeah, it's I think very missed, because I think there is this misconception that anyone can do social media, because anyone can sign up for an account and start posting stuff. But it doesn't mean that the stuff is good. And then to use that word, it doesn't mean that the content that you're sharing is strategic. So why are you posting this? Why are you posting this many times? Why are you using these words and not these words? So all of those things as part of that strategic planning or strategic thinking that I do for different businesses, and that I think all businesses could benefit from. It's just usually they just want to say, well, don't you just post a picture? But then when you don't see results from that, you have to start thinking, oh, well, maybe it's because I shouldn't have posted this picture, or that this picture didn't have or serve any purpose for my bigger goals. And that's really the part of strategy, is that you're trying to tie those very tactical pieces to something bigger. And you're trying to make sure that what you're posting on social media lines up with maybe what you're doing in store, and then lines up with what your bigger picture goals for your business are. And it's a lot of work. So that's why it's often missed. It's just, they kind of just jump right to the just do it part.
But whether they do it right or wrong, I guess the point is they have to be on it, right? It's, I guess, unheard of and in many ways kind of unwise for any organization or business not to have some presence on social media these days, right?
Yeah, I usually say, because I've had clients in the past who didn't care about social media or didn't think it was worth the time. And I had said to them, you might not, first of all, you're missing an opportunity. If anything, you're missing an opportunity to reach more people, to create customers, to get people to spend money with your business. But then you're also, just because you are not on social media does not mean that people are not talking about your business or your services on social media. Sure. So why wouldn't you want to be where people are talking about it or potentially talking about it? So huge opportunity in general, lots of positive aspects of it. And then there's also a lot of, crisis management that occurs or can occur online too, that you might be missing if you're sort of rejecting being on it.
Okay. Let's switch gears for a second and talk, some people might not think, what you do as a blogger is a business, but indeed it is a business, right? And tell me what it's like for you to be an entrepreneur. What do you like about doing what you do from that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I love setting my own hours, sort of. So I think maybe the misconception with being your own boss is that you don't work a traditional 9 to 5, which can be true, but then what they don't actually follow up with saying is that you're probably working like until midnight or something. So you're kind of working 24/7 in a lot of ways. And because it's your business, in many ways, you don't mind because it's something you've built and it's something that you want to grow and build success for. So you'll put in as many hours as you want because it's your kind of baby. And then two, I think you sort of blur the lines a lot. So I love that I'm able to take, a really long lunch break. My job is a little confusing because taking a lunch break could be considered working for me since I post about food. But I can take a long lunch break and then just kind of make it up in the evening. So the flexibility, I think, is really nice. I never have to worry about, no, I can't do that because I have to be at my desk for something. I don't really need to do that. So I love that. And I think it's just the opportunity to see something like an idea that you have and something that you've worked on and kind of created sort of come to life and see success. I think that's really, that's one of the really cool things about entrepreneurship is sort of going from idea to creation.
On the flip side then, what don't you like about being an entrepreneur?
I think really it is that no work-life balance. And probably some entrepreneurs are better at it than others. And I'm certainly trying to set my boundaries. I think it's, again, my scenario is a bit different because my hobby is also social media. So that's what I would be on during my downtime. But then my social media is also my work. So it feels like I never actually have any type of downtime. So that's I think, probably the biggest challenge.
Okay, so I'm curious, and I know you said you did this kind of writing stuff since you were young and a little girl. If you weren't doing what you do now, what career path do you think you would have taken?
Yeah, so I thought for a long time growing up that I would be a teacher because I do like, and I actually do that in my work now. I do social media training. So there's some of that. So I always thought I would either be a teacher or actually what I went to school for because you can't actually go to school technically to major in social media. But there's lots of courses you can take that are related to social media. But I went to school for journalism and television broadcasting. So, nice. So, I mean, a lot of the skills are so transferable. And so what I like to say is that my job is I'm a storyteller and just how I tell the stories has changed. So if I wasn't doing social media kind of storytelling, I could still see myself doing it in other, maybe more traditional ways.
Just as an aside, when you mentioned about social media and education and stuff, I have noticed though now that more institutions are starting to offer that, right? And I believe U of A, for all the listeners out there who are curious, anyways, U of A has got some program in place because I see their ads keep popping up on social media to entice me to join these courses, right? Social media skills. Right?
It's funny you mentioned that. I actually teach 2 of the courses of that U of A social media certificate program.
Maybe I'll sign up and you can teach me a thing or two.
I'd love to.
All right, let's work-life balance. You talked about, but you do other things besides this. And I want to talk about 2 of your initiatives. One is you're the founder of Stop Race-Based Hate. Tell me what that's about.
Yeah, so Stop Race-Based Hate is a new initiative. I teamed up with my friends Jessie Kayabo and Carmen Cheng, who are both in Calgary, Alberta. We're all women of color. We've all experienced racism, and in the past year, we just have felt more compelled to do something. And so the more we sort of shared about anti-racism just on our personal social media accounts, the more feedback we kept getting from people that, oh, I've never thought about it that way, or, oh, thank you for articulating this in this way. So we found that there appeared to be this gap in people wanted to call out racism, but they just couldn't find the right words or explanation to do it. So the initiative is basically a website tool that has a bunch of different racist statements. Many of them are subtle racist statements that a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't know that was wrong to say. And then it gives people those words. So it gives an explanation as to why this is racist. It gives more resources and reading so that people can kind of educate and arm themselves with words, and then kind of have that confidence to go out, and when someone in their network does say something racist, they're not going to feel like they can't say anything because they're not sure what to say. The tool helps them find those words to call out racism.
Okay, super. And it's a tough one to say quickly. Stop racist.
It's kind of like a little, StopRaceBasedHate.ca is.
Okay, there you go. Second thing, this is kind of intriguing to me when I saw in your bio, you're also founder of the Edmonton International Cat Festival.
Yeah.
Tell me what that is.
So the Edmonton International Cat Festival launched in 2014. And at the time, we were the only cat festival of its kind in Canada. Since then, there's one other cat fest. We're friends with them, so it's fine. but it's basically a big celebration of cats. And then we raise money for cat rescues. So it's a charitable event. It's once a year. It's literally like just a big party for cat people. And we have all sorts of cat related content. You can pet cats. You can learn about cats on a stage educational conference component. You can do cat crafts. We fly in before the pandemic. We flew in celebrity cats, and people would line up to meet celebrity cats.
Like who?
We've had Suki the cat is an adventure cat. We had Nala the cat, who holds the Guinness World Record for most Instagram followers.
Oh my Lord, how many?
Oh gosh, I don't know what she's at now. A lot, like millions and millions and millions for a cat. And Great Grams of Gary is an adventure cat. So we've had a whole bunch. Pudge the cat. We could have a whole conversation about celebrity cats. But it's a really fun event, and most importantly, we've been able to raise a lot of money for cat rescues every year. So we've gone virtual the last couple of years. This year will be virtual in May as well, but we're hoping in 2023 we'll be back in person.
All right, super. Well, that was great, Linda. I appreciate your time in this.
Thank you.
All right, super. That was Linda Hwang, who is a leading Alberta blogger and social media strategist. I'm Mario Tanaguzzi. This has been Edmonton's podcast on Canada's Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us today.